In, we have a complete breakdown after the results of the Senate election race were released this afternoon, with the big names failed to secure a spot. Find out soon. Also, chaos in the Capitol after riots last night in D.C. After the riots last night in D.C., Primetimes rather spoke with United GPT on the intelligence failures by and the reasoning behind our own military not defending our city, and court clash with Judge Sebman expelled and not feelings currently being impeached. We take a look at how the district courts are starting to clean out. All that and more starts right now on Primetime. And of course, good evening, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Parker Jackson Primetime. I'm Parker Jackson in New York. Tonight marks a new era beginning within news of television, as I am now back in the community hosting this weekly show on FTN. Most of you may know me from Fuse Back, anchoring America's News HQ and the Jackson File on Fox News, along with being a contributor for FTN News for many years now. And I'm back with a new weekly primetime show, as you can see. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Anyway, NUSA has 5 newly elected senators as the Senate Class 1 election wrapped up this afternoon. 400 votes were cast in the election, making it a record turnout compared to other elections within the past 4 years. In the election, there was a speculation that by the media, that voter fraud would be a major factor in the election, but those rumors were debunked when only about 50 fraudulent votes were cast. Now let's talk about the top 5 candidates that got into Senate. So the first one is joining us now, which is Udiskai, who won in a landslide with 16% of the vote, having 56 votes cast in his name. After him, we have George Godsent with 11% of the vote and 30. So begs the question to be asked, is Noosa heading into a new generations with new figures coming into the spotlight? Joining me now is OU Dekai, how do you say your name? I'm sorry.
It's a Okidasi.
Ogudasi. Joining me now is Ogudasi, a senator after winning first place in the election. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us because this is a really monumental moment for yourself. We got to talk about it. You received the most votes candidates that won in this landslide. So why do you think the American people voted for you and voted for your campaign?
I mean, first off, I would like to say thanks to Hilti because he was a major part of it. So I would say that because I would say we're unique than the other candidates. I would say like our campaigning style is unique. Like barely anyone had a Discord server. Barely anyone had a community. We were rallying continuously. We were hosting game nights continuously, and we were doing and we were doing and we made that video obviously, which was meant as a joke, but at the same time it was meant for our senatorial campaign. I would just say we're unique.
And to get this many votes, I mean, you won in a massive landslide. Nobody else got even anywhere close to your numbers. Do you think it's because were you out in DC campaigning? Your videos that you sent, I wasn't able to watch the videos, but was your team very helpful in getting everybody connected within the community?
I would say that all the factors contributed to that cause, not just the campaign, not just the rallying. I think everything contributed. In great props for my staff team too.
And with that said, I also want to ask you about now you've been elected, you're about to be sworn in. What are you trying to accomplish in this term?
I would really have to say that in my 7 years of Nusa, I never got the chance to really how do you say this? Never get a high level position. I would like to make it normalized for like cleaners, um, CNP people, Barbies to like get in the office. Like I'm for the minorities, and I would like to stop corruption. That's what I want to do in office. That's my biggest inspiration. Is me not like getting into Senate. That's it. And I want to like contribute to that cause of many more people getting
When
to the
you s-
government in the government. Did it
when
continue?
when you say you want to stop corruption, what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm still new to the community, but from what I'm trying to fix is that you know that Google Forms for whistleblowers, right? Whistleblowers, right?
Mhm.
I'm trying to
Yes.
make that whistleblowers can give an option if they want to be anonymized or not. Like it's to be like given an option for them to put their name on the form.
Yeah, exactly, and I agree with that. Now, I also wanted to talk to you, and I believe your advisor's here tonight. Sorry, I didn't get to say your name in here, but Stealthy, you're his advisor, correct?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm his advisor.
All right. Well, hang on, we got a little. All right. Anyway, we do have your advisor here. Now, I want to speak more on. We had the riots yesterday in DC. How do you plan to deal with crime within DC? Because that's one of the major talking points of the nation right now. After we did have that riot go on.
Um, I spoke with Okadasi personally on this. We were talking with SWAT how recently they weren't being favored or established as an agency or even law enforcement by itself. Um, we aim together to make sure that citizens of Washington D.C. are able to be defended correctly. They're able to have people that are there caring for them and sticking up for their rights. So with Okadasi in the Senate, um, we're here to introduce legislation that prevents that in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I also wanted to talk to you about this, especially Ogudasi. What type of legislation do you plan to put in place to maybe help crime go up? Do you have any ideas on how we can bring crime to a minimum in our country?
yeah. So probably with that is probably like SWAT paycheck. I've heard a lot about SWAT complaining about their paychecks, like how they're getting underpaid and stuff like that. So that's my main identifiers. And yeah, that's really it for my goals to boost up SWAT a little bit.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Really, thank you and congratulations, honestly, for getting that high of election turnout under your name. That's amazing.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we are going to turn now to the United States District Court system. It has been in the spotlight this week, with Judge Sebman being expelled of the court due to inactivity stint, along with the current district judge not feeling still facing an impeachment proceeding regarding the just judge, subsequently filing a H4 resolution within the House of Representatives to impeach federal judge Not Feelings for following a disagreement with the judge's decision over the case Adam Stratton versus NewsNet News Network. In the resolution states the allegations of misconduct impeachment, but there was nowhere reached. We reached out to the lawyer representing Not Feelings tonight, and he responded saying, "We've reached a lawyer representing the judge and has stated it's disappointing that the judge is resorting to unconstitutional and legal impeachments against members of the judicial branch, and he does not like how the judicial branch is making its decisions. Now, we at FTN can now exclusively bring you breaking news regarding the story tonight that just came in about 15 minutes ago. And in a recent notice, the Supreme Court announced that they have granted an emergency injunction against the impeachment proceedings of the district judge Not Feelings. Now, this is being reported by C-SPAN and other media outlets as well, and it's saying that it's from a merit brief. We also just got comment from their lawyer as well. I'm going to read this comment from the lawyer real fast. It says, the merit brief has just been filed with the Supreme Court, and the petitioners argued that the only real criminal contact was by the judge that issued this threat. The judge is obstructing justice. That is the stance of the contact tonight, and it looks like the Supreme Court did approve that. So that is breaking news coming into our newsroom. And of course, we want to make sure that you stay with FTN News as we continue to follow this case and the fallout after the Supreme Court sent that out. So make sure to stay with us. With that said, we're going to take a quick break on Parker Jackson Primetime, and when we come back, the Secretary of Defense, United GPT, joins me to break down the events of yesterday's DC riots. We'll return after this short The city of Washington, D.C. is still recovering after deadly riots broke out yesterday afternoon. The Marshall Group C military conducted by I-3IC attacked D.C. yesterday afternoon amidst a zombie outbreak. Information tells us that this was orchestrated by some very high-ranking members within that group to promote activity and a warmonger. The information that has been given to us indicated that the intelligence community was informed of this upcoming raid and took it as a joke, leaving the United States unprepared for the attack. Martial law was then declared in D.C. by the president, and the president instructed military to carry out a nuclear attack on the city to end the riots immediately. The vice president sent out a statement later that night saying, "I'm disappointed to see the C military regard the unprovoked attack on the capital of our nation. Rest assured that this act will not be let go, and the White House and the president is releasing a statement sometimes in the future, which we got later on today." He also thanked the military and law enforcement, along with SWAT and special forces, for their help. Now, the big question is, why was there the intelligence failure? And that's what we're asking tonight. Joining me now on the phone is United GPT, our Secretary of Defense. Good evening, United.
Hey, how's it going?
United, let's start by talking about this. So, why was the military not? Sorry, what? Sorry, hang on. Was it true that you took this as a joke, the riots as a joke, when you first heard about them?
We didn't really. We had people reach out to us about it, but we were preparing for inspections, and then we were working on development. So the president said that there's other people that could handle it, and then we were waiting for the martial law to be declared. But with the current tools and stuff in game for the military, we were waiting for the new group to be added, which was the whatever the CDC. It was like a task force group to be made, and they made it, and then we all got on after that.
So there was some type of technical failure going on the group side that did not allow the adequate members of our defense to join.
No, I mean we could have, but we would have not been able to use it. But we're just waiting for the other group to be added to the game, and then that's when the zombie whatever outbreak happened, and we all joined for a little bit, and then it started dying down, and then we dismissed them because we had an inspection that lasted about 2 hours before. So everybody's just ready to get off by the end.
So let's talk about the intelligence of it as well. Were y'all warned before, and if so, who warned you?
We had the group management reached out to us about it, and then we handled it after that. I know the intelligence community was handling stuff too, but I can't really get into that. But it was we had an idea about it before, but we told group management that we'd be busy for about 2 hours before we could actually help out with it because of our weekly schedule that we had to follow.
Now, in their statement that I said earlier, that the vice president, said that there would be an adequate response. Can you give us any information onto how you, as the Defense Department, are going to respond to these attacks?
We have to wait for more information to come in before we can really handle it. If it's domestic citizens, we can't really handle it. But if it's actual other countries and stuff, then we'll be able to do it. But for martial law and all that kind of stuff, we'll handle it the best we can. But we don't want to kill innocent civilians, if that makes sense.
Have y'all ever heard of the C military group before this night?
A few times before, but it hasn't been really around until the revamp of the group, so we don't really have that much information on all these different groups that are coming out right now.
With that said, I know you said y'all did inspections yesterday. Tell us how the inspections went.
They went really good. We had I think it was over 85 people attend. We had the vice president there. The Navy and the Army both rallied over 20 people, which is a really good show. I mean, a bunch of civilian support there as well. But it really showcases the activity of the DoD and the USM. We're currently building. We started with about 15 people 3 weeks ago, and now we're up to over 150 people currently active in the military. Great. Yeah, it's really building fast. It's really exciting. But we've been working really hard at it. We're working on development right now. We got a new Pentagon that we're working on, and we got our inspection ground. So we're doing an inspection every Saturday now. So we have enough activity
That's great.
to report that.
That's great, and thank you for coming on and just giving us some insight into what happened yesterday and some upcoming stuff too. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, everybody, after the break, it's your news flash right here on Parker Jackson Primetime. And welcome back to Purchase Prime Time. Time for the news flash now, and we do have breaking news coming into our newsroom as we speak regarding an emergency notice issued by the Supreme Court in the case of Not Feelings. That is where John of Doom, or Chief Washington Anchor, joins us on the phone. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
All right, John, tell us
Yes.
what's going on with this new emergency injunction.
Yes, I can tell you, Parker, that the Supreme Court has issued an emergency injunction against impeachment proceedings against Judge. What was their name? Not Feelings. The announcement reads, and I quote. Where is it? Oh, here it is. In the matter of re-impeachment of District Judge Not Feelings, the court has granted an emergency injunction to halt the congressional impeachment proceedings against District Judge Not Feelings. It also comes. This comes as the Supreme Court is currently taking amicus briefings on this subject. The questions are whether, due to the reversions of Romney's constitution to Tim's constitution, the Supreme Court's consent in Engel and cursive are reaffirmed. But most importantly, they're looking to see if a House of Representatives if the House of Representatives can impeach a federal judge for violating judicial ethics, and if impeachment still require reference to an actual crime or misdemeanor, and whether a federal judge's decision to issue contempt of court to Congress disagreement meets a threshold for impeachment, or whether the federal judges have judicial immunity in relation to contempt of court charges. I'm going to briefly bring you up to date on what happened and that led up to this, if I can find it. Where is it? Not sure where it is. I thought they had it, but apparently it's not. This was an impeachment hearing, impeachment proposed by Just a Judge 1, who, where is it? Here it is. Found it. Who brought up this resolution. I'm going to briefly bring you the reason for it. He said that he accuses Not Feelings, while serving as a district judge, willfully and knowledgeably entering a default judgment in a case without following proper court procedure. I do want to know that he was on this case as one of the lawyers. I'm not really sure which one it was. But he also continues on to say, despite of an absence of entry of default from the clerk of the court, Judge Not Feelings proceeded to issue the default judgment, thereby depriving the parties involved their right to due process under the law. The impeachment passed with 4 votes to 1 nay. The one name was Representative Solomon. It would be headed to the Senate for full trial. I assume as soon as the full House have voted, if they have not done so already. But Parker, this is a really big development in terms of impeachment, and one that could set the stage for future impeachments to come. As of right now, there is currently an investigation in the House in relation to the Supreme Court of the United States. Parker.
Very, very interesting, and stay tuned with us because we're going to bring more regarding all these impeachments going on within the judicial system. Thank you very much, John, for coming on real fast and giving us a brief. All right, we're going to move on now. Newsflash with more news. The Senate President Pro Tempore Chexberger came under fire today as allegations surfaced that he has access to FEC filtering system. This comes that he is able to correctly predict the results that were being out, such as Reset 4K losing the election. Along with that, he also leaked sign-up numbers and for the race earlier this week. This is calling for speculation that he may have some sort of conflict of interest within the FEC. Also tonight, some news out of the Senate as FTN can now correctly project that no party will be able to control a majority within the Senate after the recent elections. The current statistics show the Freedom Party with 3 seats, Democratic Party with 4, and Independents having 3. This is the first time in many years that the political majority within the Senate, and we are getting exclusive reporting that Freedom does have 4 now, so it's an almost even split between the Freedom and Politicrats. That's your news flash for tonight, and that's going to wrap up the show as well. Thank everybody for tuning in to our inaugural episode, and we'll be back with more episodes this week. As always, stick with FTN News, providing free and fair coverage of all the latest news stories. From New York, I'm Parker Jackson. Have a great night.